The life sign should not have been there. Chief Salvager Kreth pressed his mandible against the scanner readout and read it again. 1 pulse. Slow. Warm. Coming from deep inside the derelict relay station, tumbling through the GR-7 radiation belt like a dead tooth in a black gum. Equipment ghost, said Vesic from the helm, not looking up. Thermal echo from the reactor housing. We see it sometimes in old wrecks. Kreth wanted to agree. The relay station was a human build, blocky, ugly, covered in bolted plates like something nailed together by an angry child. It had no business still running. The radiation belt bathed it in enough ionizing energy to cook a Vethri exoskeleton in under an hour. Nothing lived here. Nothing could live here. And yet. The pulse repeated. Slow. Steady. Patient. Log it as a probable echo, Kreth said. But we bored. Salvage rights require visual confirmation of abandonment. He turned to his crew of 6. Standard sweep. 20 minutes. We grab the navigation core, the comm array if it's intact, and we leave. Nobody lingers. The belt is already eating our hull coating. His crew chittered agreement. They were good workers. Fast. Efficient. They had cracked open 14 derelicts this season without incident. None of them had ever cracked open a human one before. The airlock groaned when Vesic forced it. Not the clean hydraulic hiss of a functioning system. A long, grinding moan of metal that had been frozen and thawed and frozen again so many times the seals had turned to powder. Kretha's boots crunched on the ice that coated the inner corridor. The station was dark. Not the standby dark of a ship in low-power mode. The true dark. The kind that pressed against your compound eyes and whispered that nothing here cared whether you could see. Helmet lights, Kreth ordered. 6 beams cut into the black. They found walls streaked with frozen condensation. A handprint smeared across a panel, 5 fingers, blunt and flat, the mark of a species with no claws. Stay tight. Check rooms as we pass. I want the core located in 10 minutes. They moved through the station like surgeons through a body. Efficient. Clinical. The Vethri did not do curiosity. Curiosity was for larvae. Adults had quotas. But the station fought them. Doors stuck. Floor panels buckled upward where coolant leaks had frozen into ridges. The temperature readout on Kretha's wrist unit dropped as they went deeper. -4. -9. -14. It's not just powered down, muttered Thren, the youngest of the crew, her antennae flattening against her skull. It's cold. The heating system isn't just off. It's been off for a long time. Then the echo theory holds, Kreth said. Whatever's registering as a pulse is mechanical. A pump cycling. A valve sticking. He did not slow down. He did not look at the handprints on the walls. There were more of them, deeper in. Some smeared. Some sharp and deliberate, as if someone had gripped the wall to keep from falling. They found the maintenance closet on the 3rd sublevel. The door was shut. Not sealed. Not locked. Just shut, the way a person shuts a door when they want the draft to stop. Kreth reached for the handle. Chief. Vesic's voice was flat. Warning tone. The thermal reading is strongest here. If it's a reactor leak, then we'll see it and leave. Kreth pulled the door open. The beam of his helmet light fell on a shape curled in the corner. A thermal blanket, silver and creased, wrapped tight around a small frame. A face pressed against the wall. Eyes closed. Breath visible in the cold air, rising in thin white threads. A human. Small. Pale. One eye covered by a stained cloth patch. 2 fingers missing from the left hand, the stumps healed smooth and white. The crew stared. Then Thren laughed. A sharp, clicking sound. It's sleeping. In a closet. Wrapped in foil. She turned to Kreth. Is this what they send into the deep dark? This soft, slow little thing? Kreth did not laugh. He was looking at the walls of the closet. They were covered in marks. Tallies. Hundreds of them, scratched into the metal with something sharp. He counted the groups quickly. 5 lines, 4 lines, 5 lines. Over and over. 334 days. Bag it, Kreth said. His voice came out rough. He cleared his throat. Standard salvage protocol. Unconscious biological material gets sealed and tagged. We'll sort it at the depot. Vesic stepped forward with a containment sack. The human opened its eye. It did not scream. It did not scramble backward. It looked at Vesic, then at Kreth, then at the containment sack, and it said a single word in a language the translators took 3 seconds to parse. No. Then it sat up. Slowly. The way someone sits up when every joint has been still for too long and the cold has settled into the cartilage. It pulled the blanket off its shoulders. Underneath, it wore a stained work jumpsuit, patched in 4 places with what looked like adhesive tape and stripped wire insulation. Chief, Vesic said, stepping back. Should I? I said no. The human's voice was hoarse. Dry. The voice of someone who had not spoken aloud in a very long time. It looked at the 6 Vethri crowding the doorway of its tiny closet, and something shifted behind its one good eye. Not fear. Not anger. Annoyance. You're in my station, it said. Kretha's translator rendered the words flat and strange. My station. As if ownership were a thing that mattered here, in the dead belt, in the dark. This vessel is unregistered and drifting in open salvage space, Kreth said. He kept his voice level. Professional. Under Concordance Maritime Code, Section. Section 9, I know. The human stood up. It was shorter than Kreth expected. Smaller than the Vethri, certainly. No exoskeleton. No compound eyes. Just soft skin over soft bones, a patch over half its face, and 2 missing fingers on one hand. I filed the registry renewal myself. 8 months ago. Burst transmission to the relay authority. You should check your databases before you start bagging people. Silence. Thren's antennae twitched. 8 months? You've been here 8 months. The human looked at her. 11. The number landed in the room like a dropped tool. 11 months. In this cold. In this radiation. Alone. Kreth looked at the tally marks on the wall again. 334. The human had been counting every single day. Had not lost count. Had not stopped marking them. What is your name? Kreth asked. Marcus Webb. Relay Engineer, 3rd Class. Assigned to GR-7 Navigational Lighthouse. He said it the way someone recites a fact they have repeated so many times it has worn smooth. And I'd appreciate it if you'd step out of my corridor. You're letting the cold in. They did not leave. Kreth told himself it was because the radiation readings were climbing outside and the station's interior, freezing as it was, still offered more shielding than their ship's thinning hull. That was the practical reason. The true reason sat in his chest like a swallowed stone, and he did not examine it. Marcus Webb made them tea. That was the only word for it. He boiled water on a jury-rigged heating coil wired directly into the station's backup battery, poured it into 6 mismatched cups he pulled from a crate, and added dried leaves from a sealed pouch. The cups were dented. 2 had chips on the rim. He handed them out without ceremony. "It's not much," he said. "But you look cold." The Vethri did not drink tea. Their biology processed nutrients through their exoskeleton. But Kreth took the cup because refusing felt wrong in a way he could not articulate. He held it in his claws. The heat seeped through the metal. Marcus sat on an overturned crate and wrapped both hands around his own cup. The 2 missing fingers on his left hand did not stop him from gripping it. The healed stumps pressed flat against the ceramic. "The radiation," Kreth said. He could not let the silence stretch. "The belt? It should be lethal to your biology within days." Marcus shrugged. One shoulder. "Casual." "Yeah. It's bad. The first month I spent most of it behind the reactor shielding. After that I learned the pattern. The belt pulses. 14 hours on, 6 hours off. You can do maintenance in the off hours. You just have to be fast." He took a sip of tea. "And you stop caring about the hair falling out." Vesik made a small sound. Kreth ignored it. "Your eye," Thren said. She had not stopped staring at the cloth patch. "And your fingers." "Coolant spray," Marcus said. Month 4. A seal blew while I was patching the secondary loop. Got it across my face and my hand. Cauterized it myself with a soldering iron. He said this the way one might describe a mildly inconvenient Tuesday. The eye was already gone by the time I got the bleeding stopped. Fingers I had to cut. Frostbite got into them later, in month 7, when the heating went full dead. But that's just weather. That's just weather. Kreth set his cup down. His claws were trembling slightly, and he pressed them flat against his thighs to hide it. "Why?" he asked. "The station is derelict. The relay authority could send a replacement crew. You could have called for extraction." Marcus looked at him. The one good eye was brown. Steady. Tired in a way that went deeper than sleep. "The colony ship Arden passes through this corridor in 14 days, he said. 3,000 people on board. Families. Kids. Their navigation is locked to this relay's signal. If I go dark, they miss the turn. They go into the Keth expanse instead of the safe lane. No fuel to correct. No second signal for 600 light years." He paused. "So I stay. I fix the antenna. I keep the light on." Nobody spoke. "The relay authority," Marcus continued, "is 11 months behind on maintenance rotations. They know the station's falling apart. They sent me because I was the only one who volunteered. Because I'm stubborn." He almost smiled. It did not reach his eye. "And because they figured if I died out here, it was one name on a form instead of a scandal." Thren's antennae were pressed flat. Kreth recognized the posture. Shame. Not hers. Inherited. Reflected. The shame of watching something and understanding, too late, that you had laughed. They stayed 3 hours. The radiation outside climbed. Their hull coating degraded another fraction. Kreth should have ordered them back to the ship. Should have grabbed the navigation core and left. Standard salvage. Clean numbers. Instead, he watched Marcus Webb repair a coolant junction with 2 fingers, a mouthful of wire, and a string of words in his native language that the translator flagged as unprintable. He watched the human work in the cold, in the dark, in the radiation that pulsed through the walls like a slow heartbeat. Watched him curse a stuck bolt, brace his shoulder against a pipe, and wrench it free with a sound like tearing cloth. "You need help," Kreth said. It was not a question. Marcus did not look up from the junction. "I need a new thermal coupler for the heating system. I need 3 meters of insulated wiring for the antenna feed. I need someone to tell the relay authority that if they don't send a proper repair crew in 2 months, this station will go dark and I'll be floating in a frozen closet wondering where the light went." He tightened the junction. Stood. Wiped his hands on his jumpsuit. "But I don't need saving. I need parts." Kreth nodded. He turned to Vesic. "Unload the spare coupler from our engine kit. Strip 2 meters from our backup antenna feed." "Chief, that's our own." "I know what it is." "Do it." Vesic went. Marcus watched her go. Then he looked at Kreth. The annoyance was gone from his face. What remained was something harder to name. Gratitude, maybe. But worn thin. Suspicious. The look of a man who had been alone long enough that kindness felt like a trap. "You don't have to," Marcus said quietly. "No," Kreth agreed. "I don't." They stood in the cold corridor, breathing in the recycled air that tasted of iron and frost, and for a moment neither of them moved. The warship arrived at hour 19. Kreth saw it on the proximity scanner first. A V3 military cruiser, hull designation Sovereign Clutch, dropping out of transit at the edge of the radiation belt. Its weapons array lit up the scanner like a fist of hot needles. The hail came through on the open channel. "Commander Thesic, 7th Fleet." His face filled the comm screen, mandibles clicking in sharp command rhythm. "Salvage vessel Kethvor, you are in contact with a hostile biological entity aboard an unregistered structure. Withdraw immediately. We are authorized to neutralize." Kreth stared at the screen. "Neutralize," he repeated. "The human is a Class 4 contamination risk. It has been isolated in a radiation zone for an extended period. Its biological state is unknown. It may be carrying pathogens, radiation-adapted organisms, or compromised neural function. Standard protocol is elimination and structural demolition." Kreth looked at Marcus. The human was sitting on his crate, cup in hand, listening to the translation through the comm speaker. His expression had not changed. He took a sip of tea. "You hear that?" Kreth asked him. "Yeah." Marcus set the cup down. "They want to kill me and blow up the lighthouse. In approximately 40 minutes, based on their weapon charge cycle," Kreth confirmed. He looked at the screen. "Commander Thesic, this is Chief Salvager Kreth of the Kethvor. I am filing a formal protest under Maritime Code Section 14. The human is a registered relay engineer with active duty assignment. The station is not unregistered. And there is no contamination." He is making tea. Thesic's mandibles clicked. "Your protest is noted and denied. Withdraw or be classified as compromised." The channel closed. Kreth looked at his crew. 6 V3. Salvage workers. Not soldiers. Not fighters. They had cutting tools and a small ship with a hull that was already half-eaten by radiation. He looked at Marcus Webb, who was standing now, looking at the comm panel with the flat, assessing gaze of a man calculating odds he already knew. The antenna array, Marcus said. The big dish on the roof. It's a focused communication emitter. If I reroute the power feed from the backup battery through the focusing ring, I can push a concentrated electromagnetic burst. Narrow band? One shot. At what? Kreth asked. Their sensor cluster. I can blind them. Not damage them. Not hurt anyone. Just wipe their targeting arrays and comm dishes. They'll be flying manual for about 6 hours while they recalibrate. He paused. But I need to go up to the roof. Outside. In the belt. Kreth checked the radiation timer. The pulse cycle was in its active phase. 14 hours of ionizing bombardment. Marcus would be walking into it. It'll kill you, Thren said. Her voice was small. Marcus pulled his thermal blanket off the crate and wrapped it around his shoulders. It'll give me a hell of a sunburn, he said. And I'll lose some more hair. But the pulse peaks in 20 minutes and drops to half intensity for about 90 seconds. I can make it up and back in 90 seconds if I run. He looked at Kreth. I've done it before. Month 6. Had to clear ice off the dish. You went outside in the radiation belt. On purpose. The antenna was iced over. The Ardent was due in 3 days. Someone had to clear it. He said it simply. As if the sentence required no further explanation. As if walking into lethal radiation to scrape ice off a dish were the same as taking out the trash. Kreth felt the swallowed stone in his chest grow heavier. Go, he said. We'll monitor from here. Vesik, get him the route schematic. Thren, time the pulse cycle. Give him his window. Marcus nodded. He checked the jumpsuit zipper. Pulled the blanket tighter. Looked at his 2 good fingers and his 2 healed stumps, flexed them once, and walked toward the ladder. At the base of the ladder, he stopped. Turned. If I don't make it back, he said, the backup transmitter is under the floor panel in the kitchen. It'll keep the Ardent on course for maybe 6 hours. Long enough for them to find another signal. He paused. And the tea's in the crate. Don't let it go to waste. Then he climbed. The 90 seconds felt like a year. Kreth watched the external camera feed, grainy and washed with static. Marcus emerged onto the roof of the station, a small soft shape against the vast indifferent dark. The radiation belt pulsed around him in visible waves, a sickly amber glow that made the camera stutter. He ran. Not fast. Not graceful. A flat-footed, heavy run, the run of a man whose body was not built for speed but had learned it through sheer refusal to stop. Thren counted down. 40 seconds. 30. He's at the dish. 20. On the screen, Marcus hauled open the access panel on the antenna housing. His fingers, 2 of them, plus 2 smooth stumps, worked the wiring. Splicing. Rerouting. The blanket flapped behind him in the thin outgassing wind. 10 seconds. He's still open. Thren's voice cracked. Marcus slammed the panel shut. Turned. Ran. The radiation pulse crested. The camera whited out. When it cleared, Marcus was at the roof hatch, dropping through, pulling the hatch shut behind him. He sat on the top rung of the ladder, chest heaving, one hand pressed over his eye patch. His skin was red, blistering at the edges. He looked up at the camera. Gave a thumbs up. Got it, he wheezed through the comm, firing in 10 seconds. The electromagnetic burst hit the Sovereign clutch like a silent fist. On Kreth's scanner, the warship's lights went dark. Weapons array, dead. Sensors, dead. Comm, dead. The great vessel hung in space, blind and deaf, drifting slightly on its last momentum. Kreth opened the channel. Broadcast on all frequencies. This is Chief Salvager Kreth of the Kethvor, broadcasting to all Concordance vessels in range. The GR-7 relay station is active, manned, and protected under Maritime Code Section 9. The engineer on station is Marcus Webb, Registered Relay Authority, 11 months in service. Any vessel interfering with this station will answer to me. He paused. Looked at the dark shape of the warship on his scanner. And to anyone from the Relay Authority listening. Send the repair crew. Send them in 2 weeks, not 2 months. He's already lost an eye and 2 fingers. He doesn't need to lose the rest. He closed the channel. The Sovereign clutch limped away 4 hours later, sensors restored, pride clearly not. No shots were fired. No further hails came. The Relay Authority sent a terse acknowledgement of Kretha's broadcast and a promise of a repair team. Marcus read the message, snorted, and went back to fixing the coolant junction. The Vethri stayed another 2 days. They helped him splice the antenna feed. They sealed 3 hull breaches with salvage epoxy. Thren, to her own visible embarrassment, knitted a crude cover for his teacup out of thermal wrap so it would hold heat longer. On the second evening, Kreth found Marcus on the observation deck. A small room with a single window looking out at the radiation belt, which from inside looked almost beautiful. Ribbons of amber and gold, slow and silent. Marcus was drinking his tea. The cup had the thermal wrap cover. His burned skin was peeling at the temples. He looked exhausted in a way that went past physical. Bone deep. Soul deep. The exhaustion of 11 months of being the only person who cared whether a light stayed on. The ardent passes in 12 days, Marcus said. He did not look at Kreth. If the signal holds, they'll make the turn. 3,000 people will go home instead of dying in the expanse. They'll never know my name. They'll never know this station exists. He sipped his tea. That's fine. That's the job. Kreth sat beside him. Set his own cup down. Untouched. He could not drink it. His biology would not allow it. But he held the cup because Marcus had given it to him, and setting it down empty felt like a small cruelty. My crew laughed, Kreth said. The words came out before he could weigh them. When we found you? Sleeping in the closet. They laughed. Marcus turned his head. Looked at Kreth with his one brown eye. Yeah, he said. People usually do. Why? Marcus thought about it. Rolled the cup in his hands. The thermal wrap crackled softly. Because I'm small, he said. Because I'm soft. Because I don't have a shell or claws or compound eyes. Because I bleed and I break and I get cold and I need sleep. Because I look like something that should die easy. He paused. And then I don't die. And people don't know what to do with that. So they laugh. Because the alternative is to take it seriously. And taking it seriously means admitting that something small and soft and breakable looked at the dark and said no, not today, and meant it. Kreth was quiet for a long time. We will not laugh, he said. Marcus smiled. Small. Tired. Real. You already stopped. They left on the morning of the 3rd day. The radiation was climbing again. Their hull could not take much more. Kreth stood at the airlock, suited up, ready to seal his helmet. Marcus stood inside the station. Behind him, the corridor was still dark. Still cold. Still covered in frost and handprints and tally marks. But the lights on the comm panel were green. The antenna was patched. The signal was strong. 14 days, Kreth said. Then the Ardent passes. And then? And then I wait for the repair crew. And then I go home. I think. He said I think like the concept was foreign. Like home was a word he had not used in so long it had lost its shape. Maybe I'll grow tomatoes. I had a garden before. Before the assignment. Tomatoes, Kreth repeated. He did not know what they were. He filed the word away. He would look it up. Tomatoes, Marcus confirmed. Small. Red. They need a lot of sun and a little swearing to grow right. He extended his hand. 2 fingers. 2 stumps. Open. Kreth looked at the hand. Then he reached out and clasped it. His claws against Marcus's palm. Careful. Gentle. The way you hold something that has been broken and put back together and is somehow stronger at the seams. Lighthouse keeper, Kreth said. Marcus nodded. Lighthouse keeper. Kreth sealed his helmet. Walked to the airlock. Did not look back. He did not trust himself to look back. The Kethvor pulled away from the station and burned hard for open space. Kreth sat in the command chair and watched the relay station shrink on the rear scanner. A small blocky shape. Ugly. Bolted together. Tumbling slowly in the amber light of the radiation belt. Inside it, 1 light burned. Thren approached from the helm. Her antennae were still flat. They had been flat for 3 days. She stood beside Kreth's chair and watched the station shrink. Chief, she said. The log entry. For the salvage registry. What do I put? Kreth watched the light. Small. Steady. Patient. Put that the station was occupied, he said. Put that the engineer was alive. Put that the signal was active. He paused. And put that we did not take the navigation core. Thren blinked. But the salvage rights. Put that we did not take it. She nodded. Turned to the console. Typed. Kreth watched the station until it was a dot. Until the dot was indistinguishable from the stars. Until the only way he knew it was still there was the faint, steady ping of its signal on the long-range scanner. A lighthouse in the dark. A small, soft, breakable man, keeping it lit. Kreth set his cold, untouched cup of tea on the arm of his chair. He did not pour it out. He kept it there. A small ceramic weight. A reminder. He would not laugh again. Not at small things. Not at soft things. Not at anything that had survived the dark by choosing, every single morning, to stand up and tend the light. The Kethvor burned on. Behind them, the signal held. And in 12 days, 3,000 people would go home. They would never know why. That was fine. That was the job. The end.